Mid-level jewelry, pros, cons, advantages, disadvantages. Going to give you 5 of each. Coming up next on Pros and Cons by Piercer, episode number 69. So stick around. For those who are new to the channel, my name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and operate the Axiom body piercing studio located here in Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. So when I talk to you about these things, I'm talking to you with a level of expertise as someone who's been in the industry for well over 26 years. So what are we going to be talking about today? Last week we talked about high-end, high-quality, fashion jewelry, like the finest of jewelry. Today we're going to talk about the mid-level, right below that. Various different manufacturers, and I'm not going to go into naming them or any of that, but this is jewelry that is generally more mass-produced, but it does have third-party certification that it's biocompatible materials, unlike the low end, which we'll get into next week with pros and cons. This stuff, for the most part, is a bit safer than the low crap, a little less expensive than the fine end, and etc. So it's kind of that middle ground, that way right between the two. A lot of times, the jewelry itself may be manufactured outside the United States and then shipped in, sometimes in Asia, sometimes in Europe. It really depends on the manufacturer or name brand, etc. that's being used. But usually it has that ASTM certification that it is the correct material that you want in your body. So we're going to start off with the pros, giving you 5 of each. Pro number 1, it is affordable. This jewelry is generally cost effective from the standpoint of your average consumer can in fact afford it. The problem with a lot of high-end jewelry is that because it's more expensive to the shop or studio that's buying it, the markup is usually 3 times that. So you get into a piece of jewelry that's going to cost, in some cases, $80 to $100 for a piece that you can find in this mid-level around $20. So it's more affordable. Number 2, I already talked about this. It is certified biocompatible. This is not that low-end stuff. This is the stuff that somebody actually is using the correct materials and certifying it. Number 3, usually within manufacturers, all the parts are interchangeable. You may have issues when you go from one manufacturer to the other of like ends to barbells and etc. fitting from one to the other. But for the most part, if your piercer or whoever stocks that jewelry, they're going to know where to buy replacement pieces if you lose them. Number 4, it can get the job done. It can you can use it during the healing process. You can leave it in. It can last a very long time. They're fairly durable. It's not something that you're going to worry about it falling out immediately. There are some build quality issues, which I'll get into next, but when we get into the cons. But for the most part, it can do the job easily and effectively at a decent price. Number 5, the last of the pros, it's usually in stock. Unlike that high-end fine jewelry manufacturers, this stuff is usually produced on a much more massive scale. So you're not going to have issues with back orders and things being out of stock and your studio not be able to find it, or even be able to find it online for a price that's affordable and is actually going to not take a year to get to you, or 2 or 3 months. So with the pros out of the way, let's move on to the cons, the disadvantages, things we don't like about midline or mid-level jewelry. Number 1, it's generally very limited in design. A majority of the designs they have are copies of more of the fine, high-end jewelry manufacturers. They're not usually the same at any stretch of the imagination, but it's kind of more limited in designs. You're not going to see a lot of innovations from this particular type of manufacturer. Number 2, they're limited in sizes because they're mass producing this and their whole bottom line is getting out as much jewelry at an affordable price and selling a lot of jewelry. they're not going to have those odd sizes that you may need. They may only make 14 gauge barbells, and this end may be the only one that it fits on is that 14 gauge. It's not like the high-end manufacturers where pretty much any design for the most part you could get from 18 gauge all the way up to 20 or up to 0 gauge in some cases. With these, you're going to be kind of limited to that sweet spot between 18 and 12. Anything above that, they're not going to have. And even the 12 is going to be pretty limited. The 14 is going to stick with jewelry that is for piercings that are traditional to that. They kind of manufacture more for the piercing than really innovating and trying different designs. So you're kind of limited. Number 3. Unlike your high-end manufacturers, you are going to have a little less of that quality with the beld. Things like your finish is probably not going to be as good as it would be with the higher-end jewelry. The second thing being is that pieces will kind of not be as seamless when they come together. There might be gaps. The other common thing with these is instead of gluing in then bending metal over the gems, in a lot of cases, they just glue them into place so those gemstones fall off. The other thing, you're not going to find precious stones or semi-precious stones. Most of it's going to be synthetic or cut glass. So it's not, and one final thing is usually with threaded jewelry, you're not going to have as many turns to tighten and loosen, which can be a big deal with tongue piercings and places where balls come unscrewed fairly easily. So those are all things you should consider. That's what you're giving up when you go to that midline from that high end. Number 4, it's kind of along the same lines. You're going to be more prone to find defects. You're going to be more prone to find scratches. You're going to have more issues with gems falling out, things falling apart, and etc. than you would have with the high end. Usually, most of them guarantee their jewelry, but at least the studio should. For example, I always guarantee my jewelry for up to a year, regardless of defect or other problem. So take that into consideration, especially when you're purchasing this from a studio. Ask them what type of a guarantee they give for that jewelry. Number 5, it's a little less durable, especially the finish, as the high-end jewelry. So you're giving that up to get that more affordability. There's not as much labor put into it, lower build quality, not as durable, etc. Well, that's it. Basically, the biggest thing I can tell you about this stuff is it can keep it within your price point where you can afford it, but yet it can do the job. It's not going to cause allergic reactions. It's not going to cause other problems. And it's not as bad as what I'm going to talk about next week, which is the low-end fashion jewelry. However, as an alternative for those that can't afford that much to buy that really high-end piece from whatever manufacturer that's well over 3 digits in price, it's a good option. It'll get the job done. It'll keep the piercing open and give you years of enjoyment. So, hope you liked the video. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you liked it, because we like it when you like it. If you have any questions or would like to make a comment or share your experience with these this kind of mid-level jewelry stuff, please leave a comment. I usually answer them when I have time. And we like to share information. We like our users, our viewers, to share information too. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Hit that notification bell so that you're notified every single time we post a video. Check out our merch store. Also, plenty of t-shirts, plenty of various different things to buy. I just bought a bunch of it, and it's supposed to be coming in later this week. Some new t-shirts and some decals, some fun stuff. Check it out. Links are in the description. There's also a merch shelf down there. Lots of plenty of designs and stuff that I'm sure anybody can find something they would like. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercing skill with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Stay safe. Stay clean. We're almost through this thing. And, of course, as always, wash your hands.